Let's welcome in our next guest. Anil Manghnani is now joining us on the phone line. Anil, last 10 days have been quite volatile, but you still believe that it's a consolidation phase and the trend is still on the upside?
The trend is up, but I don't believe that consolidation happens at the top. I believe consolidation happens more at the bottom. So I'll say that the trend is up. Having said that, my earlier guess was, and even the market is proving to be, that this 9,000 to 9,200 is where there's a lot of volatility. And volatility, within 1% or 2%, so you can't call it excess volatility. I just think this range, because I think 92.19 and 92.97, those are the two major expansions I got. We've done 92.18. So I think every time you come closer to 9200, you are going to get choppiness. But having said that, I guess as long as you have so much action in stocks, like you said, mid caps and small caps hitting live highs. So there is a lot of interest. So I think the undertone is very bullish. And I think clearly it's more stock specific and it's more in the mid cap, and I think the large cap you see more one day one stock moves to pull up the index, one day something else moves. So in the large cap there's more rotation, not much money to be made, but I think in the mid cap and small cap you're definitely seeing a lot of action.
Right. Do you think that the mid cap and small cap action would continue? It's been going on for a while, but no reason to believe that it's likely to end soon?
Ideally, no, because this is going on from at least 3 years. I think 2000, maybe 15, 16, and now into 17. So at least 2 years it's been bullish and outperforming. So I'll be surprised to at least. It'll be a guess to say that it's not going to continue. But chartically, there is no reason it shouldn't continue to beat the large cap. Because even in the large cap, although the Nifty has crossed that 9119 initially, previous high, I think the Sensex high was around 30,000 odd. So that hasn't happened. And if you see the comparison as to what the mid-cap index was, the mid-cap index at the same time somewhere in 2015 was at 13,500. And that today is 17,000. So clearly a 3,500 point excess move on the mid cap in the last 2 years, whereas the Sensex has still not come to that 30,000 figure.
Right. In terms of the global setup, so what's happening globally. So Dow is constantly going down for the last 8 days, but again, the magnitude of fall is very less. That also tells you that, people are just waiting on the sidelines. Any marginal correction globally in equities which people want to own would see buying?
You'd have to believe that. A little surprised as to, at one point it was dollar up, yields up, S&P up. Not in that necessarily that order, but they were all three moving in sync. In the last couple of months, you would have to say that the yields have started to come off from a 10-year high of 2.66. We are back to about 2.38 or something. And the dollar index from 103.88, I haven't checked what it is last night, but I think I saw it somewhere at about 99 or 100 or something like that. So the dollar index has fallen about 4%, maybe give or take 3.5%, 4%. And the yields have come off by about 10% maybe. But at the same time, the S&P has barely reacted maybe a couple of percent. So there is a little bit of deviation from what's been happening. I think the S&P had an arrow fall. It's come and hit the 50-day. Now it's bouncing. The question to watch here is, does it make a lower top and go in for a bigger correction? Because remember, Indian markets have only been rallying for, let's say, about a year now from that 6,800 low. But the S&P markets have been rallying for pretty much without major corrections for something, except one major correction was happened in Jan-Feb last year. But otherwise, if you look at it, for 7 years from 2009, its trajectory has been one way up. So, is it due for a correction? Yes. Are the charts weak? No. Should the fall be bought even if it's a deeper correction? Possible. Gut feeling is if it does make a lower top, that is the S&P. Again, very early to say, I'm not sure myself. But if it does make a lower top, then I think the max anyway, the fall will be up to the 200-day average, which at this point on the S&P is somewhere around 22-25. So even on that basis, it's not that big for an index that is at 2341 right now. 22.25 equates to about 4%, 4.5%, maybe 4%. So it's not a big fall that you can expect. But if it does, that will be the quantum, at least for now, is what I can see. Later on, I'll have to readdress the charts. But as of now, it doesn't look like it'll be deeper than that.
Right. Let's talk about the broader market space today and, what's happening over there. Have you looked at the chart of M&M Finance? It's continuously making new highs. There is a buzz of takeover in the market. But what is the sense that you get?
Again, I mean, chartically, none of these look weak, but I mean, to the magnitude which some of them have moved, it will probably be a hold rather than. Sorry, you said M&M Finance.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I got the wrong. So this is at the 321. See, I think this one actually, to be honest, has not done relatively as strong as what some of the other. I mean, if you take a Bajaj Finance is back to its all-time high. Mahindra Financial is still bouncing back. I think 343, I don't know what it's quoting today, but 343 is the 0.618. If it can take that out, then possibly you can look at somewhere around 370 back to the all-time highs of 400. But right now, I don't know what it is. 343 is the immediate resistance.
Right. In terms of large cap names, how would you look at Axis Bank? Because that's probably one of the only names, Axis and ICICI, which has not performed in the index.
Well, you can also add a Tata Motor to that is corrected post the numbers. See, I think unfortunately there's too much negative news floating around in Axis Bank. Again, I don't want to mix technicals and fundamentals, and it tends to move whenever there's a buzz that Kotak Bank is looking to take over some bank. But technically speaking, it's one of the few stocks I would say in the index where the monthly is in a sell. So I think for now it's still a sell-on rally, which is rare in this market because everything seems to be so strong and kind of a buy-on-dip scenario. So this will be one of the few that I would say that you still need to look to sell the rally. The first resistance would come closer to about 530 on Axis Bank.
Right. Anil, you said that you see consolidation when markets are lower, and would you say then accumulation, distribution, taking place at these levels? If the markets, if the Nifty doesn't take out 9200 in the next few days, could it mean significant correction?
I think now, having caught up to the globe, I think it's starting to look like more in sync with the globe. I mean, at one point we were way underperforming the globe when we had the demonetization phase. So we really didn't participate when the U.S. elections took place because that was the same day when demonetization. But then post that, we've had such a big rally that now we seem to be more in line with what the foreign markets are doing. And if you saw yesterday, in the early part of trade, all was down, whether it was Nikkei, whether Hong Kong and then Europe opened down, Dow futures were down, we fell. But then by the end of the day, the Dow recovered most of its losses. S&P was flat. Asia opened up, and then we bounced. So I think we are more in sync with what the world is doing now, and I think that may sort of that decoupling that we had is now gone. Now we seem to be more coupled with the rest of the market. So I think the key to watch out here, without putting overemphasis, is to what the S&P does in this bounce. Does it make a lower top, or does it continue further? If it does make a lower top and start to fall, then maybe India also could an overdue correction. Remember, we've rallied from 7,900 to 92. That's a huge move without any correction. So if the S&P does happen to correct, maybe 88.50, 88.60 is possible on the Indian market. But again, way too early to make that call. Right now, if you look at it, you still have a mid-cap index, like you said, making new life highs. So you may try to make a case for distribution on the large cap, but when you have mid-cap making new highs, small cap making new highs, it tells you there's enough in the market for people to buy. So it cannot be a market that is completely sort of distributing. It has to be accumulation at the higher end for some reason, but more in the mid caps and in the small caps rather than the large caps.
Right, Anil. Thank you so much for speaking with us at NDTV.